you're looking live at Crew-6 on the move inside astronaut crew quarters. The 3 astronauts and 1 cosmonaut finished putting on their spacesuits in the historic suit-up room, and now they are walking down the hallway to the elevator. In front, Commander Stephen Bowen and pilot Woody Hoberg. Behind them, mission specialist Sultan Al-Nayati and Andrei Fedyaev. They are getting into the elevator to the first floor where they will begin their journey to space. That and more is coming up next. And now you're looking live at the Crew Dragon spacecraft on top of a SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket that will launch the Crew-6 crew to the International Space Station in a little more than 3 hours. Welcome to the Kennedy Space Center in Florida for live coverage of NASA and SpaceX's launch of Crew-6, now streaming in 4K. I'm NASA's Daryl Nail, and with me is NASA astronaut Raja Chari, back by popular demand. Thanks for coming back.
Yeah, glad to be back, Daryl, and hoping the second time is the charm, and hoping to see my first launch.
Absolutely. We're excited to get your reaction on that. In addition to Raja's analysis, we have live updates from Mission Control in Houston and live interviews from our VIP location here at Kennedy. There you see them. Hello, Houston, and hello, Jasmine. And later on, at T-minus 1 hour, we will welcome in SpaceX live from Hawthorne, California. But let's begin quickly with a recap of the first launch attempt early Sunday morning. The day started here with the crew signing the mission patch inside crew quarters at the Neil Armstrong Operations and Checkout Building. They went through the entire process of suit up and transport to the pad where they ingressed into the Dragon capsule. The countdown moved along smoothly until reduced flow in an engine ignition fluid line was detected by the launch team. The launch was scrubbed with less than 3 minutes in the count. The astronauts remained in the capsule until the rocket was completely detanked. A disappointing moment for the astronauts, certainly, Raja.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're obviously like an instantaneous, instant of a little bit of disappointment, but obviously the right, safe thing to do, and the team all knows that, and so they're ready to do it again today, and have learned from all that, and some great lessons learned.
And now we want to focus on the front doors of the astronaut crew quarters, where those astronauts are ready to walk out. And here they come. Crew-6, walking outside of astronaut crew quarters for the second time, hoping to make the flight happen.
4 on countdown. Crew walk
From
out.
left to right,
Crew displays are configured.
Andrei Fedyaev, Woody Hoberg, Stephen Bowen, and Sultan Al-Nayati. Getting some high fives there.
Yeah.
There's Woody Hoberg, the pilot for Crew-6, giving the wave. You can see there's a sense of familiarity as they get into the Teslas.
Yep, and now you can see Administrator Nelson there, the bottom right, and then Bob Cabana's just to his right. And I think that's Calvin Manning to his right, the Deputy Kennedy Center Director. So definitely a sign of the importance of this mission to have all the headquarters folks come down here, stay down here. The crew's not the only ones that stays down here between scrubs, they do too. So it's all hands on deck.
So the second Tesla, the doors are closed for the commander and the pilot for the mission, and behind them, the mission specialists. In that second Tesla, they also include the flight surgeon. They ride along. And then in the third Tesla, those astronauts are with a second closeout lead. They take some of the closeout team with them on the way to the pad. And take a look at the license plate. We saw this last time. Crew Dragon with a number 6 for the G.
Yeah, and this time I know. So last time I was surprised to find out that it changes each time. I was thought that it always said send it with a 3, but it turns out that was only for Crew 3. So
Crew 3 was a special mission. Maybe not special enough for to put it on every single.
Maybe I've been watching that video too much.
And here we go with the crew departing the Neil Armstrong Operations and Checkout Building. This begins the 20-minute drive with a full security escort across NASA's Kennedy Space Center to Launch Pad 39A. Let's introduce you now to today's crew. Captain Stephen Bowen. He hails from Cohasset, Massachusetts, and is married with 3 children. He holds the title of first U.S. Navy submarine officer to be selected as a mission specialist by NASA. Captain Bowen is also a veteran of NASA's space flights, including space shuttle flights on the STS-126, 132 rather, and 133. During those missions, he and his crew expanded the living quarters on the ISS, delivered an integrated cargo carrier, and a Russian mini research module. He has logged more than 40 days in space, including 47 hours and 18 minutes in 7 spacewalks. He's the wily old veteran, and today he's the commander of Crew-6, a position you know well.
I do, yeah, and it's a great position for him to be in. Like you mentioned, he's got some serious experience and street cred, and much like Tom Marshburn on my flight, trusted to mentor and lead 3 rookies going up there, and so I know he's well up to the task and enjoying going on this trip.
Sitting next to Stephen is pilot Warren Woody Hoberg. The 37-year-old is from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. He studied aeronautics and astronautics from MIT before getting a doctorate in electrical engineering and computer science from the University of California, Berkeley. During grad school, Hoberg worked as an EMT with the Yosemite Search and Rescue. Crew-6 will be Hoberg's first flight since NASA selected him to be an astronaut in 2017. He is also a commercial pilot with instrument, single-engine, and multi-engine ratings. As pilot for Crew-6, he will be responsible for spacecraft systems and performance. Aboard the station, he will serve as an Expedition 68 and 69 flight engineer.
And his most important role is to continue the presence of turtles on the space station. So what he also commonly referred to as the smartest turtle, but also the most humble one. You wouldn't know that talking to him. And any of the things on his
countdown, advanced team is complete, ready for crew arrival.
You just heard the core call for countdown, timing for the crew arrival. But yeah, all those things, what he's done by themselves would be amazing, let alone in combination.
In the role of mission specialist is astronaut Sultan Al-Niyati. He was chosen by the Mohammed bin Rashid Space Center of the United Arab Emirates to be part of Expedition 6869. The father of 5 spent most of his life in Al Ain and Abu Dhabi, but in 2020 traded that in for astronaut training in Houston at NASA's Johnson Space Center. This will be his first trip to space. You're familiar with flying with a bunch of rookies.
Yeah, exactly. And can't understate how important this is. The first UAE astronaut going up on a U.S. commercial vehicle to the U.S. segment of the station. This is amazing. The fruit, coming to fruition of a long partnership and a lot of work to get us here.
We saw a shot of the vehicle assembly building dead ahead, and they'll get up, make that right-hand turn, and go right by it. Talking about the mission specialists, it's also the first trip to space for the second mission specialist, Roscosmos cosmonaut Andrei Fedyaev. Andrei was selected as a cosmonaut back in 2012. He will be working to monitor the spacecraft during the dynamic launch and re-entry phases of flight. And once on board station, he will be a flight engineer for Expeditions 68 and 69.
Yeah, and great to have Andre on board. I flew out here and back with Christina Cook for the first launch attempt, and she knows him and just has just an amazingly big heart, and it's going to be a joy to work with on the space station.
This successful NASA program is called Commercial Crew, and it's based right here at the Kennedy Space Center. Jasmine Hopkins now joins us live with one of the leaders of this program. Jasmine.
Thank you so much, Daryl. We are back tonight on the balcony of the Operations Support Building number 2 here at Kennedy Space Center. And right now, we're so glad to be joined by Kathy Leaders, the Associate Administrator for NASA's Space Operations Mission Directorate. Good evening, Kathy.
Good evening. So happy to be here.
Of course, and we are happy to have you. This is round 2, as we said earlier, a second time's the charm. But really, let's talk about that seriously, that we prioritize safety here at NASA. We only launch when we're ready, right?
Yes, and it kind of seems like a cliche because we say it over and over. Space flight's hard. We say it's really, really hard. But when you look at all the things that have to be done perfectly to make sure we're flying safely, it is hard. And it's that attention to detail that makes us ensure that we're flying our crews safely.
We get to see right now that them showing up to take a look at the rocket. We talked about last time, the reason they have to crane back like that is the way that the suit constrains you, and it's built to be pressurized, but when it's not pressurized, then it kind of pushes down on your head and neck just a little bit. So taking one more look at the rocket before they head into the elevator, and I did hear from Woody that they did in fact change the labels on the button pad inside that, so it does actually say space on the top button and Earth on the bottom button.
The elevator buttons inside, yes. If folks, you haven't seen that meme floating around, there's a picture that shows all the buttons inside this elevator, and they're marked out by the foot level. The top used to be the 255-foot level, but apparently it now says
yeah, it's
space.
been modified to say space, which is appropriate. The 39 complex is historic. We've been using it since the early days of the space age, and continuing to upgrade even the labels.
How cool was that to reach over and press space?
that's an awesome to be able to hit the destination that you're going to.
Yeah.
This is the view at the top of the elevator, so they pop out here and they walk up a floor. You can see there's the graded floors, or if in the event of an emergency egress, they douse this whole thing with a whole bunch of water so you don't have to get slippery. So that's why they're graded floors, so the water can actually flow through.
And you see astronaut Nick Hague is with them. He's number 12. See him turning the corner there? This is the astronaut support person. And Nick Hague, of course, an experienced astronaut, been up to space station, been through a launch abort himself. Great resource to the astronauts.
Yeah, it's amazing. Reed Wiseman, who's the former chief of the office, likes to say that Nick is a unicorn. He's pretty much the only person, right now that's, well, he's been to space twice, even though he only won one mission. This is the first time they aborted. They actually ballistically went into orbit,
right.
so he counts that as two, rightfully so.
Okay.
But yeah, that's really, really unusual. I don't think there's anyone else in the office that's been through a launch abort, which, as we know, the Commercial Crew program has that as a requirement. So we've got that system now with both Dragon and Starliner. But to actually have done that is a way, it's pretty extreme.
Yeah.
See Sultan and Andre heading up the elevator. You notice tonight everything's going faster, which is a testament to the fact that we practiced this once.
And there they are, coming through the crew access arm. The commander and pilot, Stephen and Woody, making their way inside Dragon. Big thumbs up and a wave from the crew. They're hoping today is the day.
Core on countdown. Crew are in the white room.
You see Arthur is the core at SpaceX, so they keep the shifts the same. So again, we kind of talked a little bit about last time, but the importance of all the sims leading up to this are the same voices. So they'll, through the slip and through the scrub retiming, all the shifts at SpaceX and at Houston actually all stayed on the same timeline, so they could be all the same people.
That's Arthur Berrialt, the crew operations resource engineer with SpaceX. That's his voice coming over.
You can see the ninjas helping get their, those are the shoe protectors, the boot guards coming off.
Yep.
So it protects for two things. FOD in the capsule is one thing, but the other thing is there's slots in the bottom of those heels, and that's what actually, when you see them get in, you'll see them put their foot up and then down, almost like putting on a ski boot type thing, where it locks in, and that's what keeps your feet restrained under the launch loads and re-entry loads, which is why you'll also see them sometimes, if not during before they are in the launch escape system, you'll see them lock them in, but that also protects the channel from any nicks or dings on the bottom side of that.
Our mission specialists now getting ready to board Dragon, Sultan and Andre with a big thumbs up. Beautiful shot from high above looking into the crew access arm as they make their way aboard Dragon. There go our two mission specialists with the duck as they cross the hatch, being very careful not to touch or hit the edges of that hatch, because that seal is so very important to maintaining a good seal when they pressurize the cabin in space. And now our cameraman will go inside. Or wait.
So those are the crew satchels. You saw those white bags. Woody and Steve's are already on their leg. There's a little loop under there that the ground techs help connect for them. See Sultan and Andre hooking in their umbilicals, so expect shortly they'll do their comm checks with Arthur at the core.
And it's worth noting, for those who follow very closely, that SpaceX is now doing some of their checks and operations in parallel rather than sequentially. It could end up sequentially, but they're aiming for parallel, and that will reduce the total time of the operation starting right now by about 27 minutes.
Core, this is MS2, C4. How to read me? Come check.
doing comm checks even as they're getting seated.
Loud and clear from seat 4, how me?
Loud and clear, seat 4.
Encore MS1 comm check.
And loud and clear, MS1 from seat 1, how me?
I got a loud and clear.
And a great view of Andre's buckle there. So it's a 5-point harness. The crew can totally do it on their own, but just to save wear and tear on the suits, a lot of times the ground crew will help with doing that. And that way it makes sure it's really cinched down. So the way each on that circular harness around his waist, each of the waist straps and then the leg and the shoulders connect into a slot, and then to get out you rotate it counterclockwise or clockwise and all 5 pop out.
We see our crew waving goodbye before the SpaceX cameraman exits the capsule.
You see over Woody's right shoulder the 3 previous stickers of the crews that have flown in Endeavour. So once they get on orbit, I'm sure they've got a sticker in one of their pockets to add to that bulkhead back there.
It's a great observation there, Raja, because this is the 4th
SpaceX
flight.
Dragon, the crew is ready for comm checks.
The 4th flight for the Dragon Endeavour.
SpaceX copies, stand by for umbilical comm check.
The first 3 were Demo 2, Crew 2, and Axiom 1, which was up at station when you were there.
They were, which the first private mission to the U.S. segment. First time we've launched private astronauts from the U.S., so yeah, a pretty historic mission, and just the start of things to come. You heard Kathy Leaders mention Axiom 2 will be launching in the near future, so we're definitely incorporating the lessons learned and moving forward.
Commander, pilot,
I'll
MS1,
stand by while they do
MS2,
their
comm
comm
check.
checks.
Commander has you loud and clear.
Commander, loud and clear.
Pilot has you loud and clear.
Pilot, loud and clear.
And MS1 got you loud and clear.
MS1, loud and clear.
And MS2, got loud and clear.
MS2, loud and clear. Umbilical comm checks are complete. Report when ready for seat rotation.
As we get ready for the seat rotation, watching all 4 articulate upwards so they can get into launch position. Want to make a correction. It's a camera woman with SpaceX who's getting those fabulous shots. Relying on her to give us
SpaceX Dragon, the crew is ready for seat rotation.
these great views that we see. And this view right here, in fact, she's shooting it right now.
SpaceX copies, initiating seat rotation.
I'm sure it's a challenge to not only maintain that steady shot in that very small hatch, but she also has to maneuver around the team, making sure that she doesn't interfere with the operation. She's doing a great job.
Exactly. Yeah, so there you can see the seats moving. So they're in procedure 4.100 on the display, so that's what Woody was interacting with there a second ago. That comm check they did before was just checking the hardline communications, so their umbilicals through the spacecraft, through the umbilical to the ground. Then they are now in 4.100 for seat rotation, so you saw them talking before Steve said they're ready. That was just making sure they verified visually that all their arms and everything was clear of the translation path of the seats. You don't want anything getting pinched. And then what they're watching now on the displays is what's called a tack count, which is the motor that's running the seats to see if anything is out of limits. Looks like it was a good rotation, and they'll probably report that here shortly from the core. And you can see.
Does it make a cool motor high-tech sound?
You can't actually hear it.
No?
You know, you can. It's more like.
Dragon, SpaceX seats are in the launch position.
And during our launch coverage, we like to highlight employees in the commercial crew program who are working behind the scenes to make today's mission possible. Earlier this week, Kennedy's Jasmine Hopkins spoke to NASA's recovery director for Crew-5. Let's take a look.
Joining us now is NASA Recovery Director Brian Barry. Thanks for being here.
Of course, thank you.
Of course. So, Brian, we understand that you are the NASA Recovery Director for Crew-5, but you've actually done a lot of things for human spaceflight. Can you tell us more about that?
Sure. Yeah, that's right. So I started my career as a flight controller for the ISS program. My team was responsible for maintenance on the space station. So I had the opportunity to work directly with the astronauts, train them on tools and repair procedures. So that was a lot of fun and something I never thought I would do when I was studying to be an engineer. After that, I moved over to the safety team, and I was our safety rep for the Commercial Crew Program safety panel. So that was my first exposure to CCP, and I would go review the hazard reports for Dragon and Starliner. That was a pretty neat experience also because I was able to work with Bob and Doug prior to Demo 2 and just kind of work with them on the hazard reports and get their perspective on the risk and the mission overall. After that, in 2020, I came out to Commercial Crew and I work for them directly now, and I've been doing launch and recovery operations since then. On the launch team, my role is to lead the rescue effort if we need to. If there's a pad emergency egress or a pad abort, the launch rescue director calls in the rescue forces. So that's what I did for Crew 5 launch last year. And then as the recovery director, I lead the NASA portion of the team that goes out on the ship with SpaceX. We bring out our flight surgeons and we check out the crew and we load them up on the helicopter and get them back home.
We are currently now 2 hours and 7 minutes and counting as we watch the SpaceX closeout crew close the hatch to the Dragon capsule. Dragon Endeavour, the flight leader in SpaceX's fleet.
Right now, so honored to be joined by Administrator Bill Nelson. Thank you for being here.
It's another pleasure.
Of course, we're always glad to have you back at Kennedy. And Bill, right before we were tossed to you, actually just mentioned that you've been in the shoes of these astronauts before, that when you were flying on shuttle, it scrubbed 4 times. So do you have any words of wisdom, any words of encouragement for the astronauts tonight?
Well, words of encouragement: enjoy yourself while you're laying there strapped in on your back, trying to get off the face of the earth. But the serious words of encouragement is we don't fly until we think it's safe. And that was what was important about the first scrub, because it just didn't feel right. And NASA made the call. It was the right call. Everything's looking good. The supposed problems that they had before have all been fixed. And so I expect we're going to see a launch tonight.
Right, we're all looking forward to seeing that launch tonight, Bill. And all the work that we're doing in low Earth orbit on the space station is really paving the way for deep space. So what is next for Artemis?
Well, we have just this unbelievable opportunity now to go back to the moon, but this time it's different. First of all, we're going to a different place on the moon. It's the South Pole. And that's where we think the water is. And if you get to harvest water, all of a sudden you have hydrogen and oxygen. You've got rocket fuel. We're also going back for a different reason. We're going to stay there. We're going to learn to live, to work there, to invent, to create, all for the purpose that we're going to Mars. And you know, the moon's just a few days away. Mars is months and months away. And so that's why this is so important for us to get back to the moon.
As we march closer to launch right now, I'm so glad to be joined by Salem Al-Mari, the Director General of the Mohammed bin Rashid Space Center, as well as Hazza Al-Mansouri, UAE astronaut. Thank you so much for being here tonight.
Thank you, Jasmine.
Of course. Salem, we'll start with you. Sultan is the first UAE astronaut to go on a long-duration mission to the space station. He'll be on a 6-month science mission. So what is the UAE hoping to learn from him?
Definitely there's a lot we plan to do during this mission and learn from him and from this 6-month duration. So there's a lot of science we're going to be doing, a lot of human life sciences. There's science with over 20 different experiments with UAE universities and international universities. So that's something really big for us. But we also have a very in-depth education program where we will try and reach every school kid in the UAE. Doing simple science experiments, simple YouTube videos. And of course, other than that, we'll do a lot of PAO events where we have these live chats with the astronaut from space, with our kids and public. So I think we're quite excited for this 6-month duration mission.
Okay, so we got Megan MacArthur on the line, who flew on Crew 2 that I got to train with. And so, Megan, can you hear me okay?
Hey, Russ, I got you loud and clear.
Hey, awesome to talk to you. Thanks for calling. So Megan's at home in Houston watching the launch, and you might have better ideas about what they're doing. I think you guys came up with a game to kill some time while you're waiting for the closeout crew to leave.
Yeah, well, it's been enough time that, you know, when you first get in, of course, you're all business and you go through your checklist and you review the nominal timeline and you of course review the contingency actions that you might have to take. But now you're into just the wait. You know, I was lucky enough to fly with a really fun and fun-loving crew, and so we set about entertaining each other. And, we had Thomas as kind of our Julie, the cruise director, and he had us playing a variety of different games that I'm not sure if he made them up or these are French games or what, but he kept us well entertained.
It looked like the French version of rock, paper, scissors. I'm not sure if that's what it was, but
well,
that's what
yeah. So it's called the game of thumbs, and I won't strain anybody by trying to say that en français, but the game of thumbs, and so yeah, it's a little bit like rock, paper, scissors.
The crew access arm retraction is underway. So let's head back to Daryl over at Kennedy as they have a live view of that retraction as it happens, and will be the major final physical reconfiguration of the pad prior to launch. Daryl, how's it going?
Great, Kate, and thank you very much as we watch the crew access arm move quickly at first and then rotate away from the Dragon spacecraft. There's the view from inside the crew access arm, the white room at the very end of it. As we can see, the water tower out there. Hitting another milestone here, Raja, on our way to liftoff.
Yep, and the crew is definitely tracking through all this on the timeline. So they're procedurally in 4.100, following that SpaceX is retracting the crew arm and then starting to prepare. The next big step they'll be taking is arming the launch escape system. You can
crew strapped in?
Yep, you can see just by Andre's left leg the red of that bag. We were talking about that earlier, but you couldn't see it.
Dragon SpaceX, go for Section 6, close visors, arm launch escape system.
All right, we're picking up Section 6 on closing the visors and arming the launch escape system.
All right, so you see them reaching up to the displays. They're stepping into that section of the procedure, all verbalizing now with the visors down, that the Vox settings are correct so they can hear each other.
SpaceX Dragon, visors are closed. We're arming the launch escape system.
F9 tanks are venting for propellant load. Propellant load has started.
It was a great call and a good learning opportunity for the crew and I think for the teams. And so once more into the breach, dear friends, Crew-6 is ready to launch.
Engine chill has started.
And as expected, there's that call out for that engine chill, indicating the pre-valves are open and the engines are beginning to prepare for liftoff.
We're counting down to T-minus 5 minutes at this point. The Dragon is configured for terminal count. And at terminal count, Dragon is switched to internal power, right now receiving power from umbilical lines from the ground. Also at just under 5 minutes, we'll be waiting for strong back retract.
Dragon is in configure for terminal count. Tanks are pressurizing for strong back retract.
All right, and we heard both of those calls. Dragon onboard computers are going to take control of the vehicle. You should be seeing the clamp arm at the very top of the second stage, right underneath where you see the unpressurized trunk of Dragon, which is indicated by the half black and half white indicators, the black being the solar panels that provide power to the Dragon
is retracted
on its transit to the International Space Station. Now that confirmation of strong back retract, we should be able to visually see that strong back.
The strong back will retract about 2 degrees away from the vehicle. Then at liftoff, the strong back will actually go back to 45 degrees. That strong back is part of the transporter erector, which provides the liquids and gases and electrical connections to the vehicle. As Gary pointed out, those clamp arms opened up underneath the trunk, just above the first stage. And you can see that action happening now as that initial retraction just a couple degrees away from the vehicle.
Dragon is in terminal count and on internal power.
Stage 2, lock flow complete.
Dragon is in auto idle.
You heard those calls. The Falcon 9 fully fueled with RP-1, rocket fuel, as well as the liquid oxygen. That call of Dragon is in auto idle. There's going to be a series of calls.
Gas started. Expect rising.
There's the gas closeout, purging the lines of the fuel that has supplied the Falcon 9 with RP-1 and liquid oxygen. We'll also wait for a call of the arming of the flight termination system. The Dragon flight computers are configured for launch. Flight termination system will allow Falcon 9 to talk to Dragon on the ride uphill. Terminate the flight, issuing an abort.
Startup. Dragon is in countdown.
T-minus 1 minute and counting. Dragon is in countdown. Everything's looking good for launch.
Dragon, SpaceX, go for launch.
SpaceX Dragon, copy. Go for launch.
T-minus 30 seconds.
T-minus 30 seconds and counting. All teams pulled go.
$15 seconds.
Ready for an on-time launch for the instantaneous
T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Engines full power and liftoff of Crew-6. Go Dragon, go Falcon.
Now launching on Endeavour's fourth flight to the International Space Station. Vehicle pitching down range, 1.7 million pounds of thrust provided by the 9 Merlin 1D engines on the first stage. Hearing good calls, stage 1 propulsion is nominal.
We're now at T plus 34 seconds into the 6th rotational crew mission on board Dragon and Falcon 9.
Power and telemetry nominal.
Stage 1 throttle down.
So there we heard the call out indicating that the first stage engines will begin to throttle down in preparation for max Q, which is the moment of maximum aerodynamic pressure that the vehicle will experience during flight.
Vehicle is supersonic.
That call out there indicating the vehicle's traveling faster than the speed of sound.
Max Q.
Stage 1 throttle up.
All right, now that we're past max Q.
1 Bravo.
Copy, 1 Bravo.
That 1 Bravo indicator are different abort modes that are called that allow the ground teams and the crew to track about the position of the Falcon 9 and the Dragon as they make their way up the eastern seaboard. In the event of an abort, these different abort modes would indicate about the position where Dragon would land,
started.
as well as indicate what series of maneuvers Dragon would indicate. But so far, we're hearing good calls on the performance of the Falcon 9 on its ride uphill. 1 minute 53 seconds into flight.
We're about 30 seconds away from main engine cutoff, which will be followed quickly by stage separation and second engine start, which is the ignition of that MVAC engine on the second stage. Now about 10 seconds away from main engine cutoff.
Two Alpha.
Copy, 2 Alpha.
Stage separation confirmed.
There you can see on your screen confirmation of stage separation as well as ignition of that second stage engine. Second stage is now carrying the Crew-6 astronauts to orbit. Beautiful view there on the left-hand side of your screen coming from the first stage, which, as you can see, is still gaining in altitude. It has not yet reached its apogee. A beautiful view of the Florida Space Coast there in the background.
Meanwhile, we're tracking good performance on that MVAC engine. On the screen to your right, we'll be hearing periodic performance calls about once every minute of the status of the trajectory of the second stage and the Crew-6 astronauts that are inside Crew Dragon Endeavour. We'll also be hearing call-outs,
Bermuda.
just like you heard just there, as we pass over the various ground stations along the ascent track.
Dragon, SpaceX, nominal trajectory.
There's that performance call-out.
Dragon acknowledges nominal trajectory.
Stage 1 entry burn startup.
And there you can see
Stage 2, FTS has safed.
on your screen that first stage entry burn has begun. That booster sees high drag, which actually scrubs roughly 70% of the velocity by the time that the landing burn begins.
SpaceX Dragon Shannon.
Shannon.
Copy, Shannon.
Now off the coast of Shannon, Ireland.
Stage 1 landing burn.
And there we heard the call out indicating that landing burn.
Dragon, SpaceX. We have a nominal orbit insertion.
Great news there for
SpaceX Dragon copies nominal orbital insertion.
Launch escape system disarmed.
For Dragon Endeavour.
Stage 1 landing leg deployed.
Attempting to land on our drone ship. Just read the instructions.
Stage 1 landing is
And there you can see on your screen, and also indicated by the cheers behind me, successful landing of this booster. Its first trip to space, and therefore its first landing.
And of course, after second stage engine cutoff, you heard that call that the crew is in orbit. We're now getting views from the second stage. You can see this is one of the cameras that's pointing up into the trunk of Dragon. Of course, we're continuing to get views of the expansion nozzle at the end of the MVAC engine.
Once again, live view there from the second stage looking up into the trunk, which of course is the unpressurized section that goes along with the Dragon capsule to the International Space Station. That's where we are able to store basically cargo that is able to be exposed to the vacuum of space. So a great view there looking up into the trunk. That will be hopefully the first views that we get of that separation event, which we're expecting here any second. There you can see on your screen confirmation.
Dragon separation confirmed.
Of that separation confirmed. Dragon Endeavour is now floating free in space.
That's right, the Falcon
Dragon,
9.
CE here. Welcome to orbit. Congratulations. Your flight is exactly 4 years after the flight of the Demo 1 mission. Like Andre said, all the best things take 2 tries. Happy that we could get you off tonight. If you enjoyed your ride, please don't forget to give us 5 stars. Over to LD for some words.
Also, a friendly reminder to put your sushi orders in for CRS-27. Have a safe ride to the space station, and we look forward to seeing you when you get home. Thank you for flying SpaceX.
Expected loss of signal, Bermuda.
And SpaceX Dragon copies all. That was fantastic. Thank you. And SpaceX Dragon, we'd like to really, for the great ride to orbit today. It was greatly appreciated. May have taken 2 rides, but 2 times, but it was worth the trip. And I guess I'll pass it over to Woody for some words.
Yeah, SpaceX Dragon, just want to say as a rookie flyer, that was one heck of a ride. Thank you. I would say put it
is an absolute miracle of engineering, and I just feel so lucky that I get to fly on this amazing machine. Thanks to SpaceX, thanks to NASA, Commercial Crew Program, and our international partners. A lot of innovation went into this, tireless work out there, and a lot of painstaking attention to detail and focus on testing. And I think that's what makes it all possible to fly humans in space. Thank you.